following Saturday, they went fishing together. By now, they were using first names. Ralph said it was more friendly. Jimmy hadn't enjoyed himself so much in a long time. Then during lunch, Ralph showed him some pornographic pictures. Jimmy knew he shouldn't be interested, but, well, he was curious. What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious, a sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a homosexual, a person who demands an intimate relationship with members of their own sex.
Well, I think you should be open about it and not, just be accepting and, like, sometimes it's kind of annoying, like, if you know somebody is gay, but then you're like, you sort of make sort of a heterosexual reference of some sort, like, or, and this isn't so much, I don't know if it's so much addressing that question, but, like, whenever adults, like, assume that you're straight, they'll be like, oh, you got a girlfriend? And you just kind of have to be awkwardly like, no. So that's kind of annoying sometimes. I don't know if that's really considered being a good ally, but that's just something I think people should be aware of, that not everybody is straight. But as far as being a good ally, just be accepting, I guess.
Well, I think, first of all, it takes understanding and also education, so that it's more than just sensitivity, but actually understanding sort of what the issues are in the society that a person who's gay might be facing, or a person who's questioning might be facing.
It's just doing whatever, like, if you have like a gay or lesbian or bi or transvestite friend, you just have to make sure not to do what a lot of society does and kind of bag on them for it. And in fact, I would rather support it because it's their choice. And like, you could very well say that being straight is another person's choice, and why don't people bag on them for that? It's because what society demands that we don't do. Society demands that we excommunicate sort of those that are different, but really it's differences that make humanity humanity. So.
I think Luke does a pretty good job, especially for a high school, because we're at an age where I think it'd probably be the hardest to be LGBT.
I think Luke does really a very good job. Back when I went to high school, things were a little different. We didn't have a GSA, we had a rodeo team, and did not serve the same purpose. I think by having the GSA and having a very visible one, we make a statement to the student body and to the teachers and basically anyone who wants to come by that that intolerance isn't accepted. It's not cool here. And I think by having the GSA, maybe my thinking is hopelessly out of date, but I think for every person who comes into the GSA, I know there's plenty of straight people that do. I think there's an equal number who stay out still because of the stigma, the embarrassment. What are people going to think? But just by having the organization there, I think even those people take some comfort from that, and I think that's important.
I think Lick is surprisingly accepting. However, we obviously have room to improve. I think that we often have the idea that we're accepting and think it's you know, that we don't need to do anything because we're an accepting school comparatively to public schools or, you know, more homogenized schools, for example. I think that might be our greatest weakness, that we're too comfortable and we think, you know, we don't ever want to push ourselves farther because we feel like we're in a good place.
Well, I think that we do a good job. I hope we're doing a good job. And anytime it comes to questions of diversity of any kind, I qualify my statements and try to remain humble about it, because I know that as hard as we work, as much as we care, and as good as things appear to be, at least just from my observation of being in the halls and being around campus, that I can't really know what the true individual experience is.
Well, I see it as a civil rights movement. I mean, black people had the same thing. It's just people fighting for their rights that they deserve, and right now the government isn't giving it to them. And I think we have to do something about that.
I think it's similar in the sense that we're talking about a group of people that the majority of society doesn't quite understand, much in the same way that, say, blacks or Jews or Irish people or any one of a number of other groups have been. It seems to be this surprising conclusion that the human race has to reach over and over again. Oh wait, Irish people, they're people just like us. Wait, Jews are people just like us. Blacks are people just like us. So in that sense, I think there are many parallels. I think the thing that's different is, this is a subtle thing. I don't know how to put this in words. Race is a big issue in this country, and this country has a lot of work to do on it. And I don't mean to deny that in any way, but when it comes right down to it, the difference between me and a black man is literally skin deep. I mean, a man of black skin color could be capable of all the same achievements and that sort of thing if the racist pressures were lifted from him. Homosexuality is something that gets under people's skin. It really, having somebody with an alternate sexual orientation really forces people to look at their own sexual orientation, look at their own sexuality. And that's a very uncomfortable topic for many people in this country because of the Puritan heritage, because of the bizarre pressures and images we have around sexuality. We're not a very healthy country when it comes to dealing with the topic of sexuality overall. So it's very unfortunate that that plays out in, among other things, discrimination against certain groups of people.
Well, there are definitely some parallels, and there are definitely not. I mean, class and economics and race is so important within the structure of the United States that, sometimes you can't separate that. I mean, gay white men, some gay white men in the city have a lot more power than I do because they're economically, more successful or whatever. But I think that, if you're talking about basic human rights, like the right to marry or the right to have children, and share children in a relationship and all sorts of, it's pretty clearly a civil rights issue.
Join GSA.
The easiest thing is to say, to be accepting and friendly to the people who are already on the inside, the preaching to the choir part. The harder part is having the conversations with people in other communities, people on the outside, people who don't know LGBT individuals, and just making it real for the rest of the world too.
I think one important thing is just opening a conversation. And in particular, opening the conversation among other straight people who haven't really thought about the issue. There are many people who just are not aware that this is a big issue for some people. There are many people that just, they've never consciously brought the issue to their attention, and they may well know gay people, but they don't know that they know gay people. They don't know what those struggles are, and so it's just not on their radar screen. So just to put the issue on people's radar screen so they're thinking about it, so they're starting to ponder those questions. I think that's what ultimately will have the largest scale impact.
Well, I think it's so obvious that the biggest one, which has become such a lightning rod, and I believe a red herring, actually, is gay marriage.
Gay marriage.
Gay marriage.
I think that you need to be really, and I can only see this through the guise of an English teacher. I think that you really need to be clear about the fact that people lead different kinds of lives. And I think that I'm always torn between, you know, when a writer is gay, saying, oh, well, this writer's gay, because on one hand I think, well, it's really important for kids to know, like, that there are writers who are gay, that there are people who are adults, there are people who are happy, or, you know, all of that. On the other hand, saying, but I don't say that this writer is heterosexual, right? It's not consistent, it's that same thing again. And you know, is that important to their writing? Yeah, I mean, I always think that it is important to their writing. So, but I think that it is important, this is really not coming out well, but I think just this idea that there's an awareness of the fact that people lead different lives and that people are happy leading different lives and that people have families who lead different lives and that the world is full of a lot of different ways of being, you know. So that's that.
I think teachers can avoid stereotypical statements and comments. I think that when the opportunity arises in the classroom to mention someone's, for example, the contribution of a gay man or lesbian woman to whatever field they happen to be teaching, I think they should mention it just as they would normally convey the gender of the discoverer of some element, for example, and so why not convey everything else, you know, some other characteristics as well. And I'd say just keep an open mind and don't be a jerk.
You stop it.
You stop it.
You stop it.
Okay.
And you say, I mean, generally it happens with younger students, or at least I've had it happen more with younger students, but you stop it and you say, think about what you're saying. What are you saying? And then when they say, it's just an expression, you say, well, words are meaningful, right? I'm an English teacher, it's easy for me to do this, but you stop it. I think it's actually harder when it's stuff you don't hear, you know? I feel really comfortable stopping class. I feel really comfortable attending to that. That's just not okay. It's the stuff that's less explicit that it's really hard to either know about or get a handle on when kids are doing it.
Strangely enough, in 4 years at Lick, I have not heard a student utter that in my presence once. I don't know why that is, but I have not heard it. My suspicion is that it is a kind of teenage language that maybe teenagers use among themselves, but know that it's not quote-unquote proper classroom speech, and so it doesn't show up. I think I would call a student on it if I heard it, but I haven't heard it.
I think that is
a very, I can't think of the word, but I guess like the only way I come close, like it's a wrong phrase, I guess. I mean, because when you're saying that, I mean, it's just like saying that gays are bad, when I personally have friends who are gay, and almost all of them are probably some of the coolest people that I know. So I never use that phrase, and whenever I hear somebody say it, I say, please do not say that, because it's not true.
I think, now, I don't use it, and I think it shouldn't be used so much. And I think we often kind of say it's okay because we're an accepting community. If you say that's so gay at Lick, you know, it's kind of this assumption that you don't mean it, that you're not homophobic. Does that make it okay? You know, does it make it okay to use other slurs? And, you know, I mean, that's so black. How would somebody feel if you said that? I think it's dangerous. I think it has a lot of connotations that it carries with it that aren't healthy and that don't lead to a supportive community.
I think that's a really inappropriate thing to say, because if you say that's so gay, and you say that, like, I got an F on the test, that's so gay, you're saying that it's a really bad thing. So if you replace bad with gay, you're saying gay is bad, and I don't think that's necessary.
The decision is always yours, and your whole future may depend on making the right one. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they are too friendly, if they try to win your confidence too quickly, and if they become overly personal. One never knows when the homosexual is about. He may appear normal, and it may be too late when you discover he is mentally ill. So keep with your group, and don't go off alone with strangers unless you have the permission of your parent or teacher.